Hey y'all, it's Patrick James.
Jon Double Tap Britain.
Stay with us as we talk about gun rights and the quotes that go with them on the hit list. Hey y'all, we're bringing to you our hit list with gun control quotes from modern to past. We want to make sure you have the ammunition you need to tell them how you feel about your gun rights.
I see what you did there with the whole ammunition thing.
Yep. So let's just get started with our first quote of the day.
And of course, we have a new president who has a gun control history.
He does. A lot of gun control history with that man.
Actually, I'm going to do the second quote first.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Go ahead. It's
from President Joe Biden himself.
Absolutely, on the campaign trail.
March 2nd, 2020.
So remember that when somebody asks you, where'd that come from?
I want to make something clear. I'm going to guarantee you this is not the last time you're seeing this guy, Biden said to a crowd in Dallas. You're going to take care of the gun problem with me. You're going to be the one who leads this effort. I'm counting on you. I need you badly. The state needs you. The country needs you. You're the best.
Sorry. That just makes me want to puke, knowing exactly who he was talking about.
Francis. Beto O'Rourke.
Beto O'Rourke, which just irritates me to say that name in conjunction with the great Republic of Texas and know that he was a politician in the great republic.
But you know, we have some words from Mr. Beto himself on this very issue.
Beto, Roberto. Hell yeah, we're gonna take your AR-15. If it's a weapon that was designed to kill people on the battlefield, we're going to buy it back. Mr. Beto O'Rourke, September 12th, 2019.
Now, just for the record, I did not buy any of my guns from the government.
No.
So how are they supposed to buy them back if I didn't buy them from them in the first place?
Well, you see, if they restrict something, they're supposed to reimburse you for something. Now, we saw how that works out when they made that little piece of plastic stock illegal, yes, during the Trump administration. I hate to have to say that, but it's true. But did they declassify, did they restrict that little bump stock piece of plastic? And did they pay you for it? No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
So at least O'Rourke is saying, hey, we're going to pay you for that gun. No, you ain't, because you're not going to get it. Sorry, Beto.
I'm sorry, a $50 Walmart gift card is not paying for anything that I own.
Maybe you should go after the criminals and the illegal guns that they hold versus coming after law-abiding citizens. Oh, but that's a context and a whole topic for another video. Let's keep rolling with the quotes.
Yeah, because, you know, our current president does have a whole slew of things on his joebiden.com/gun safety.
Absolutely.
Which is every bit of it about gun control.
So let them hear just the little tidbits.
I pushed the Brady bill when other Democrats voted against it. Joe Biden, February 7th, 2020.
Yep.
He also said, I beat the NRA twice. AR-15s and high-capacity magazines, October 15th, 2019.
Keep those dates fresh. These are your ammunition. That is your ammunition right there to know the dates and where it came from.
And also on September 12th of 2019, he said, I'm the only candidate who beat the NRA with the Brady bill. I'm the guy who got the Brady bill passed. Joe Biden, June 27th, 2019. So,
we know Joe Biden. He's actually the president. Not because we wanted him to be president. Not because we didn't come out in record numbers to vote for the other guy.
but there's probably some people out there saying that, Joe's old. He's probably not going to make it through his first term if he makes it through his first year.
Yeah, this is true. So let's enlighten everybody about what his vice president said when she thought she'd make a better president. She said,
go ahead.
If she was elected, she'll give Congress 100 days. 100 days. So we're going to see where we put her for the first 100 days to get their act together and have the courage to pass reasonable gun safety laws. And if they fail to do it, then I will take executive action. So we know she can't take executive action because she didn't make it to the presidency. Why? Because she wasn't worth being a president, in my opinion.
But she did make it just one heartbeat away from the presidency.
She did. I wonder how she managed to do that, like she did in all the other ways she's climbed the ladder.
Right.
I don't know. That was CNN quoting that, April 22nd, 2019.
Now these are quotes from our current
Modern
administration.
Yep.
And people who they say that they're going to put in charge of the gun issue.
Exactly. That's what he said he was going to do. He was going to put Beto there. Has he? He hasn't had a whole lot of time yet, so we need to watch and see who he appoints in there.
So what did our founders have to say on this subject?
A lot. But one of the things that we're doing with the hit list is we're going to make sure we've done the research so we know where it's at, so we can tell you where to look when someone says, yeah, you know what? I read an article the other day and they said all those quotes, they're all misattributed. When a fact checker comes along on your social media preferences of or platforms of choice, and you get that little warning at the bottom that says false, misattributed, can't find it anywhere in any of the books.
We found it.
We found it, and we're presenting it to you with where we found it.
One of the most prolific writers during our founding, between the passage of the Constitution and the ratification of the Bill of Rights, was Tench Cox.
A very strong proponent for gun rights.
And in one article, I'll do the 1788 first, and then we'll go to the 1789.
Yeah, certainly.
February 20th, 1788, in the Pennsylvania Gazette, Tench Cox wrote, "Who are the militia?" Now, the militia is what everybody tries to use to subvert the Second Amendment.
Right.
They say the militia is the military.
Yep.
Well, here's the answer. Who are the militia? Are they not ourselves? Is it feared then that we shall turn our arms, each man against his own bosom? Congress has no power to disarm the militia. Their swords and every other terrible implement of the soldier are the birthright of an American.
Of an American.
What clause in the state or federal constitution hath given away that important right? The unlimited power of the sword is not in the hands of either the federal or state governments, but where I trust in God, it will ever remain in the hands of the people.
The people. The exact same people that was referenced in the First Amendment. In fact, the exact same people that was referenced in the entire Bill of Rights.
Yep.
Us. Whether you like us or not. Us. All of us. Doesn't matter what you fear. Doesn't matter what you like. Doesn't matter what you want. Doesn't matter what you need. We, the people, have a right to keep and bear arms.
And it shall not be infringed.
Amen. So, what did Mr. Cox say in 1789? Yeah, I wish we could say 19. I'd like to have known him. 1789 in the Federal Gazetteer. As civil rulers not having their duty to the people duly before them, may attempt to tyrannize. And as the military forces which must be occasionally raised to defend our country might pervert their power to the injury of their fellow citizens. The people are confirmed by the next article in their right to keep and bear their private arms. June 18th, 1789. Tench Coxe, one of the critical framers and founders of our government, of the Federalist Constitutional Republic known as the United States of America. Joe Biden, are you listening?
Now,
if you're going to be a president, then you need to understand what the men who built and framed your country wrote and meant.
now, it's not just about my right to my guns.
No.
You know, it was all about responsibility. Rights and responsibilities are inextricably intertwined.
Yep.
There's another quote along those lines. To preserve liberty, it is essential that the whole body of people always possess arms. That's from Richard Henry Lee, writing in the Letters from the Federal Farmer.
Between 1787 and 1788. So if someone says he didn't say it, just go look it up, man.
And that quote goes on to say that they should be taught alike, especially when young, how to use them.
Absolutely.
Responsibility.
Which many of the gun owners in this country do on a regular basis, as my father did, as John's father did, taught us respect of a firearm and what it could do and what it should and should never do by the hands of people.
You know, there's a reason for gun control that goes back to our founding as well.
Absolutely.
George Mason,
another strong proponent for the right to keep and bear arms for the people.
and actually the author of the Second Amendment.
Amen.
He declared during the Virginia Ratification Convention, 1788.
June 14th.
He's talking about why they try to go after the militia.
Yep.
The British Parliament was advised by an artful man, Sir William Keith, Governor of Pennsylvania, to disarm the people, that it was the best and most effectual way to enslave them, but that they should not do it openly, but weaken them, let them sink gradually by totally disusing and neglecting the militia. Why should we not provide against the danger of having our militia, our real and natural strengths, destroyed? The general government ought, at the same time, to have some such power, but we need not give them the power to abolish our militia.
There you go. So, we just saw here that Tench Coxe said who are the militia, and then went on to describe who the militia is.
And it's not the military. He actually delineated between the two.
And there you go. So Tench Coxe told you who the militia is. George Mason, who designed, developed, and wrote the Second Amendment, just explained what government was trying to do and why they created the Bill of Rights. Because it shall not be infringed. That's what they said. That's what our framers and our founders told us.
So, anytime people start talking gun control, you go right back to the framers, and what they knew to be the case, if that ever came to pass, would be the most effectual way to enslave the people.
That's exactly right. All you got to do is say, meh, park's closed, folks. All you got to do is tell them, I'll take my rights for 1,000, Alex. Let's get that question out there. Let's answer that. Just remember, do it in the form of a question. You lose your money. Let's talk about Mr. Payne. Mr. Payne.
Oh, before we get to Mr. Payne, let me just say one thing real quick. A lot of people will look at these quotes and say, well, you're trying to incite people to violence. You're trying to spur an insurrection. You know, there's a good argument for that.
But are we being insightful?
Or are we being educational?
Insightful.
Well, insightful.
Are we being INC, insightful? Or are we being INS, insightful? They're completely different, sound alike, right? I look at it as we are being insightful into the minds of our founders and framers,
as well as our current leadership.
and we have to decide. Hey, I'm telling you my position. Jon's telling you his position. You have to decide on your position. As Mr. Payne would have us read, who was, in fact, one of the most critical of our framers, because it was his philosophies that led many of our founders down the path of creating a Federalist Constitutional Republic. Jon, tell them what Mr. Payne said.
Yeah, everybody has heard this first line before.
Yep.
These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. While we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly, it is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price on it, upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated.
Amen.
That's from
Amen.
Thomas Paine, The American Crisis, 1776.
Amen and amen and amen.
Now, we have a more modern version of that too.
We do have a more modern version. We certainly have a more modern visionary. A more modern quote.
One that hits very near and dear to our hearts.
Oh, and crap, I didn't put the dates on this, but I think I remember it.
May
to
20th.
be May 20th, 2000.
Yep.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first. Those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriot who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard. The smoke in the air of our Concord bridges and Pearl Harbors is always smelled first by the farmers who come from their simple homes to find the fire and fight, because they know the sacred stuff resides in that wooden stock and blued steel. Something that gives the most common man the most uncommon of freedoms. When ordinary hands can possess such an extraordinary instrument that symbolizes the full measure of human dignity and liberty. That's why those 5 words issue an irresistible call to us all, and we must muster. So we set out this year to defeat the divisive forces that would take freedom away. And I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice to hear and to heed from my cold, dead hands. The impetus behind what we started, and although Charlton Heston very eloquently stated it with a musket above his head, that musket could have been replaced by a scary black gun.
Not to nitpick, but it was a Kentucky long rifle.
It was a musket.
No.
It's the same thing, bro. It's the same thing. You can call it a brown bess, you can call it whatever you want. It's still a musket.
But anyway,
the point being that although Cold Dead Hands didn't come from the NRA and Charlton Heston, and it didn't come from another group of Second Amendment advocates, that actually came from a gun shop owner in Montana in 1972 who had the wisdom to put it on a bumper sticker, so I'm sure it was seen by the Second Amendment advocacy in Washington. and definitely gave him no credit. And unfortunately, I cannot remember his name at the moment, but we have talked to his son.
And we actually have a video of him somewhere.
Yeah, we do.
Telling the story.
In fact, it would probably be on our old Cold Dead Hands YouTube video channel that was erroneously and maliciously removed for God knows what. So, are these words insightful with the C?
They're definitely insightful with the S.
Listen, we have an obligation and a duty to continue to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
Even when those that we elect don't seem to do so.
We have a duty and an obligation to support, defend, and respect the Declaration of Independence that was the foundation of the Constitution and the reasons as to why they even created a union of states. It's an obligation to defend. It's not an obligation to be the aggressor, but to defend.
And it actually states, when it talks about the militia in the Constitution, one of the militia's duties is to put down insurrections.
That's exactly right. So as we go about our day, our nights, as we go about the next 4 years in an administration that we didn't want, with a president and a vice president we do not care for, we have to ask ourselves continually, what are we going to do about it? And the only thing that rings true and clear is it's time to make sure the right people are elected that represent our views.
And we're not talking about to the presidency. We've already found out over the last 4 years that one man in the Oval Office
does
ain't
not
enough.
Does not a tyranny make,
nor does it a constitution or constitutional republic rebuild.
Yeah, does it not freedom ring? One man in that Oval Office isn't the answer. But all of them in the Senate,
all of them in the state legislature,
all of them from the state levels to the federal levels have to be representative of the people. Now, I understand there's lots of people out there who are afraid of guns. Mm-hmm. They're afraid of you having a gun, of me having a gun, of John having a gun, even though we've never turned a gun upon a person. I know there's always the potential for doing so in the future. But are we to control the future of men based upon what could happen? There are some social media platforms that think that's what they should do with our voices, because you have the potential to incite violence.
Because you can reach a lot of people.
Or we have the potential to incite and provide insight as to why we shouldn't be violent. Now, oftentimes, resolutions are made through violence. There are people who have been beat up by bullies all the time, and sometimes you have to stand in the face of a bully and knock him down. That's violent. But that's what teaches bullies not to be bullies, not telling and tattling as you've been told. You have to stand and face your fears sometimes. And violence is often needed.
Yeah, sometimes violence is the answer. Now, should never be the first resort.
No.
And just like being a true patriot is a defensive position, it should always be available, just like a fire extinguisher in case of a fire, parachute in case your engine goes out on your airplane.
A first aid kit. Those are backup.
You know, it's a cliche now that you hear all the time in the gun community. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. But it has become a cliche because of the truth and wisdom behind it.
Exactly. So like I said, as you go about your day, you need to look at things from a different perspective. And I know most of the people who are watching this video already have that perspective to some degree. To some degree. There are a lot of people out there that say, I support your gun rights. But ain't nobody need to have 30-round magazines. Well, I beg to differ with you. Because it's fun to have 30-round magazines most of the time when I go to the range, and I don't have to keep reloading them all the time.
And it's not hard to envision a situation, especially given the last year's worth of violent riots, where a 30-round magazine might be the only thing that keeps you alive.
Exactly. We're here to provide some context. We're here to provide a perspective. And if you agree with those perspectives, then we encourage you to share our videos. We encourage you to share our writing. We encourage you to go to our website, cdh2a.com. Go to our store.colddeadhands.us. Sign up for our newsletter. Hey, if you get an opportunity and you need something, check out our store catalog. Every dime that's spent there is applied to our advocacy efforts. We've been here 10 years slinging it, digging, trying to make a difference. Even when big tech tries to censor what we say, we're going to find a way to bring you the truths. I know that y'all know that we're followers of Christ. And a lot of people out there say, well, how can you be a follower of Christ and have any kind of violence in your heart? Listen, evil exists in the heart of men. And it will always do evil things to innocent people. And as good shepherds, you defend your flocks.
And when people ask, what would Jesus do? It's not beyond the realm of possibility for Jesus to be cracking the whip and flipping some tables.
In fact, I think he did.
I know he did.
So, was that a violent act? Was it not a violent act? It sounds kind of violent to me. And I'm not saying that Christ was a violent man, but there is a point in time when all you can do when facing evil is to stand up and defend against it. Stop the evil from harming innocent lives. Prevent evil from committing evil acts. That's all we're doing.
Whether that evil's coming from a fellow citizen, a terrorist, an illegal alien, or the government itself.
Yep. And we could go on for hours about this stuff. I know you probably wouldn't want to watch hours of it. I wouldn't want to watch hours of myself either, most likely. But these things are important, and going forward through the next 4 years, it may become even more important. We've got a lot of work to do between now and the 2-year midterms, when we're going to show them that what we wanted in 2020, we didn't get. But we're going to change the scope of what it looks like, because we're all going to stand up. And Georgia, you got double duty time because you allowed it to happen to you twice.
Yeah, we just hope that this hit list illustrates how far we've come from our founding principles. You heard the words of the founders. You heard the words of our current administration. You be the judge on which one holds our Constitution in higher regard.
And if you want a copy of this,
which is upside down.
Woo! If you want a copy of this,
it's our 2A explained poster.
This is exactly what we defined for you. And we made it into a poster. So let us know, do you want this? We'll put it in the store. We'll try and make it the most affordable price point that we can. But remember, we're running an advocacy here. We're fighting in the trenches, both online and physically at the state levels, to ensure that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that's what you need to be doing as well. Let us know. We're here. We're helping. We're trying to keep you informed, and we're giving you the information. And that's what this is all about. Y'all, we say it every time, and we're going to say it again, because it is very true. If you want peace,
prepare for war.
Later, guys.